Good morning. I want to just take this opportunity first to engage in prayer and then to kind of delve into last week's offering and expand upon it a little bit. So we breathe deep. Yarveyamos sibire kutaravesh kramu turakhalyanan turahalimeres sibire tuturish nikutariviare turachuma paliberes sipies nukora kondraviame salbiandro koya navikatara. And we draw upon the breath that is our life-giving creator within us. Abun olibus silie derestundrachamu abun yevus visheum. To draw upon the manna of heaven, the bread of heaven, the wisdom of God's presence. And I know that as we spoke, as I shared last week, I just asked the question, what makes you believe in God? Is it because you've been instructed to do so? Have you found personal experience? Have you done it out of fear, motivation, or whatever? And again, we don't hold any judgment here. It's a place that we understand that each person is walking a different form of grace. Some of us have been graced to know of God's presence. Others have been walking out an existence that doesn't make knowledge of God's presence within their lives. Some have walked a different grace where they've encountered an experience of God, but they reject and draw away from it. It's our place within Grace Healing that we are only to draw into love for every person without limitation, regardless of their decisions or regardless of their actions, because what we see evidenced upon the earth is seen differently by God, because God looks upon all his children in perfect love. And that's where I come to the expansion for this week, because not only do we face the reality that we got to kind of decide, are we engaging in God's presence because we actually truly believe in God, or are we just hopeful that there is a God? I would also ask, how do you define God? Do you define God as this separate individual being that is this overlord overseeing all things and witnessing that which unfolds within creation from an obtuse or removed state of being? Or do you see a loving, compassionate awareness of a divine, godly nature that is not only a singular being, but a singular being that has manifested all creation from within itself? All creation to manifest and make known of its being, living reality, true definition of love, holy experience of life, the very breath of God, the abun that Yeshua taught us of, that is the very breath of God's presence, manifesting in all things of life. To me, I center upon the latter. I do not see God as a separate being. I see God as the very beginning, manifestation, and full realization of all things blessed in creation. Every breath of existence, every manifestation of life. Now, I believe that God's breath even manifests within those things that we witness of corruption upon this earth. Not that God is the corruption, but God is the blessing present within that corruption to be revealed in blessing, to be freed from the state of corruption we witness. Yahweh, God and Creator, is that which manifests every aspect of life. And like, I've had a number of people that ask me questions about, why do you choose to be vegan? What makes you choose that? Because many people within society are looking at veganism as this dietary choice. They don't understand that veganism is a respect for life in every form. And in my experience, what was happening was I was blessed to pray over many people but I've also prayed over many beings, different animals of different kinds, wild animals, private, animals that we call pets. And I found within them the breath of God's presence. I found within them the breath that manifests God's knowing, life-giving presence of life, love, and the continued manifestation of life. So I've had to kind of look at this and say, well, wait a minute, God is present here. God is present here. God is present there. God is present within. I feel God's presence within me as I encounter things that are disturbing in life. But then I center, I breathe, I focus in upon God's presence, and all of a sudden I know within the turmoil, God's peace. I know my role within either altering or changing the circumstance into a place of peace, or God's presence to move me out of the situation in a presence of peace, or to be God's presence in the midst of that turmoil so that peace is known within it. If we know and understand that God is not some separate being far off in a distance, but God is the very nature of life within us, life manifested throughout all creation, but in all forms of blessing. That's the evidence of God. God is not the corruption. God is not the brokenness. God is not the suffering. God is the blessed result, poised to rise from within that ground to come to be a blessed and holy experience. So, in my experience, as I've come to pray over people, plants, trees, animals, all these things, I sense and know the presence of God within it, so I've had to honor that experience. And it's my hope that people will wake and realize the glory of God in those moments when they feel the love coming forth from their beautiful dog or their cat or their snake for that matter, or whatever it happens to be, that the very manifestation of life within it can reconnect them to the truth of God's presence within and free them from this concept of separateness, that God is divided. So in that, finding God's presence within all things, we will learn and develop a practiced awareness that no matter what we're experiencing, no matter how much turmoil we witness upon the earth, we will know not to rest upon the turmoil, not to rest upon the unrest or the problematic situations that we see rising, but we search to find God's presence. We don't measure the issue, we don't measure the brokenness, we don't measure the disruption. We search the presence of God in the midst so that we would become God's presence within it and God's presence would magnify from within. So whether it's praying over your yard work even, a tree that you're going to trim, your animal that you're going to care for, are you going to bring prayer to this animal before you bring it to the vet for any form of inoculation or rabies shot or anything? You're going to pray protection of life over this beautiful animal. Are you going to pray to release the anxiety as you see your dog trembling as you're going someplace? Are you going to take the moment to recognize God's presence over the turmoil that this beautiful creature reveals? Are you going to take the moment to center in upon God's presence before you take into you the blessing of receiving nutrient to your body, a meal that you're taking in? The prayerful observation and realization that God's breath is present within all things that bring life to you. Yes, even the food you consume, like Yeshua mentioned in the Eucharistic offering. To transform, transfigure, to recognize the Eucharistic nature, the living nature of God's presence within all things we encounter, both consume and observe. So that's this week. And I pray in thanksgiving that God brings you a week of great abundance, a week of holy grace, to truly recognize the awesome wonder of love that is God's presence within you. Not some distant being observing you from far, far away, but the living presence of God present for you in every moment, situation, and encounter. So we at Grace Healing extend love to you, offer thanksgiving for the gift and opportunity to serve you, and look forward to the opportunity to engage with you individually. We love you and pray in thanksgiving for this time as we pray through God's holy name and breathe. Yahweh, Yeshua, Abun, Soliendro Koi Vashnu Teribian Manaikotorachum. May you know God's love and holy presence in every breath you receive. Have an amazing week. Take care and be blessed. Bye-bye.